Hi, my name is Eli Erling. I'm a recently hired instructor for the JPYC Sailing Foundation. I've been sailing for 5 years. I've been racing for 3. And I'm here to talk about race tactics. What is race tactics? So, race tactics is the strategy involved in racing a sailboat course. So, and it takes into consideration puffs, which are orange in this diagram, stuff like this, and lulls, which are purple. It also takes into consideration the land, which is blue, and how the wind direction shifts with land. So to start, I'm going to go through a demo about of a theoretical course and what it might look like in the wind conditions, just to give you an example of what these strategies would look like in implementation. So here we have the red boat, the green boat, and the blue boat. The red boat has clear air because there's no other boats blocking it. And its plan sort of is to go for it wants to take a low number of tacks. So it's going to go over here, it's going to tack, it's going to go over here, and it's going to finish its downwind leg. The green boat here, it's getting covered by red, but it still has a fairly decent position because it's on the middle of the line. And it sort of is thinking about going to this puff, which is close, and then maybe using the wind shift from land and this puff up here to round the course. Blue, it's being covered by both boats, so it is going to be a bit slower, but it also is able to control these boats, especially since it's lured of them a right-of-way rule, so it can force them to, it can head them up, but it can't force them to tack. So as the race begins, red gets a good deal of speed. And again, it's going for this puff over here. So continue the course. Green decides it wants to tack to get over to this puff. Blue keeps going. Again, as we continue to sail. And so now green has hit their puff. So they have extra speed. So they decide to go this way so they can hit this. They continue going. Blue tacks so it can get clear air, so it can go faster. And then green tacks. And now it's hit the zone where the wind has shifted. So instead of going straight down the course, now it's going at a bit of an angle, which means the green boat has a different point of sail, which is beam reach, the fastest point of sail. And that will help it get to this puff and also start rounding the course, rounding the mark. So we continue, red tacks, blue keeps going, green accelerates, hitting this puff as well. So now red keeps going. Now it hits this lull, so it's slowed down. Blue tacks. Now it hits this lull. And green is already at the mark. So it shows you sort of how these puffs definitely decide if you're going to be in the front pack, in the middle, or the back. So this is really why it's important to know, to find these puffs and sort of connect the dots and make sure you're following them. So now there's this situation with blue and red. Red is it's in trouble because blue has right of way over it, which means it's going. Blue is the stand-on vessel. It has right of way, so it doesn't have to change its course, and it shouldn't. Red has to avoid blue so they don't collide. So it can either tack or it can duck blue. So, and it doesn't really want to duck blue because that requires a lot more distance, and they're already kind of losing ground to green. So they decide to tack. So blue keeps going, and now red is kind of in a tough situation where they can't tack back because they tack into blue, and they're probably going to sail past the mark if they continue to go. So we'll see how that turns out. Again, green starts rounding, blue still sort of eking through this lull, red keeps going up here, green sort of finishes rounding, and it sees this as a good opportunity, so it's going to go for this. Blue tacks, red still can't tack because it would run into blue, so we continue. Now it tacks. So, important thing to consider is windy areas are still going to be windy just as they were upwind as they were downwind. So if you know that there's a puff over here when you're going upwind, you saw that, you might want to consider that when you're going downwind as well, because it should be there as well. So the puffs apply both to upwind and downwind. Same with lulls. So we continue on our way. Blue starts rounding. Green hits that puff and starts accelerating down to the end of the course. Red starts rounding. Blue decides that it wants to hit this puff as well as this, so it's going to jibe. Red still is rounding. Blue hits the puff and heads down. Green finishes. Red decides it just wants to take the shortest distance possible to the end of the course, so it's just going to go straight down. Blue goes down. Red starts going down, but now it hits this lull again, so it's slowed down. So blue again is aiming for this lull, for this puff over here. So they start heading down, they hit the puff, they finish. Now red is kind of stuck in that lull and is sort of still losing ground. So they finish last. And this is sort of the lesson behind race tactics is if you can use the puffs and avoid the lulls, then it'll be a lot easier to win the race because you have much greater speed than the rest of the boats around you. So you'll sort of use that short amount of distance faster than those that aren't. So again, factors to consider: puffs, lulls, wind, direction changes. So that could be shifts if the wind is shifting back and forth. We call that oscillating. So it goes back and forth and back and forth, and that's another thing to consider because a header on one tack is a lift on the other. So just catching the lifts will definitely help you sail less distance and get yourself up the course fast. And this is definitely the way that you succeed in this kind of course layout is by hitting those puffs and avoiding this lull. So I'm Eli, and this is Race Tactics.